Trudy met her ex-boyfriend's housemate when she was 12. She fancied him and they ended up kissing thanks to a game of spin the bottle. He was 14. They'd been close ever since. They bonded over photographs, coffee, cigarettes, wine and Regina Spektor. 6.5 years later, when she told Jack she fancied his housemate, he said, "Go for it, I guess." She met Ollie 2 months before her 19th birthday. She was sitting on her own in Jack's kitchen when he walked in. He thought she was a polite burglar. Jack went for a shower and she started playing Immortal Techniques, You Never Know. Ollie came up and he said that was his favourite song. When he asked her if he could have one of her beers, she said yes. When he asked her if he could have a toke on her spliff, she said yes. When he asked her for her phone number, she said yes. When he asked her to go to bed with him, she said yes. They were together for 6 months, except they never really saw each other. After a month, Ollie went to Southampton for summer and Trudy went to Cambridge. She couldn't wait for summer to end, except when it did and they returned to London, Ollie stopped texting and calling. She still goes over to the house to see Jack, but instead of knocking on Ollie's door, she just walks past it and admires the postcard of Laurel and Hardy stuck to it with a drawing pin.
Trudy went out with an Italian guy once. His name was Paolo. When they met, she told him how much she loved beards. He said that he was about to shave his off that morning, but decided against it that morning. "It must be destiny," he said, in a thick Milan accent and a wink. Destiny. She was 2 hours late for their first date. All the pubs had shut, so they met on the end of Brick Lane. He had a bottle of Prosecco clutched in his gloved hands. He wore a ski coat and she wore a jacket. It was freezing. They walked around Whitechapel, taking it in turns to swig from the bottle. After about an hour, Trudy realised she'd unconsciously been guiding him back to her flat, and when they arrived at the gate, she took out her keys and let him in without a second thought. The next day he commented on the hickey he'd left on her neck. "Wear it with pride," he encouraged. "One night with an Italian." One night. He walked her to university, kissed her goodbye, and then he left. She never saw him again. It wasn't destiny.
Trudy had an awful boyfriend once. She was 18 and he was 27. In fact, she has a theory that he actually hated her and put her through a terrible relationship as a form of punishment. One evening, he offered to cook her dinner. Leaping at and clutching on to any form of affection, she allowed him to make her whatever the hell he wanted while she danced clumsily behind him, chain-smoking, trying to look elusive and mysterious, so he'd suddenly realise how much he loved her because she was so damn enigmatic. They sat down to eat. He sat on an armchair and she sat on a pile of cushions. This is no exaggeration. She actually sat on a couple of sloped sofa cushions piled beside his armchair. Before she even took the first bite, she could smell it. Spice. Spicy spice. Her least favourite flavour in the world. Her eyes watered and her nose streamed just from having the dish sitting on her lap. What the hell would it do to her insides were she to eat it? She looked up at him with spicy tears in her eyes. Maybe he had accidentally given her his dinner and her mild pasta was in front of him. He didn't look down, just switched the best of Top Gear on telly and began eating. Top Gear is probably the only show on television that Trudy doesn't like. Her hatred of spicy food and Top Gear were not things she had hidden about her personality. In fact, it's how she introduces herself at parties. "Hi, my name is Trudy. I think people who eat anything spicier than a mango and lime chicken at Nando's are show-offs, and Jeremy Clarkson's style of uber-offensive humour is about as funny as Frankie Boyle's. Not at all." She lasted about 5 mouthfuls before her tongue was numb and her lips had swollen up like a porn star. Of course. That's what it was. He was just using the capsaicin from the chilies to swell her lips up to sultry sexiness for their sultry sexy times. She put her plate to one side and kissed him with her newfound sex-doll lips. "Have you finished eating?" he murmured, craning his head to see what star would be driving a reasonably priced car. She nodded. "Do you mind if I finish yours then? I'm really hungry." Half an hour later, she ate a bag of chips sitting on the platform at Seven Sisters Overground Station. Trudy began to question the evening's events. She listened to Fleetwood Mac's Landslide on repeat and realised that maybe falling over yourself to get to someone who seemed to go out of their way to upset you wasn't the definition of a healthy relationship. A month later, they had broken up in a horrible chain of events, which included her crying hysterically on her own at Brick Lane, 2 a.m, and him moving to a different city. She's not eaten a chili or watched Jeremy Clarkson's Smug Little Grimace since.